I'm a friend of Sierra Connor.
Look, it may take a while. Want to wait? There's a bench over there.
I'll be back.
Three simple words led T-800 to become a movie legend, even though this line may bother some.
Just remember one thing. I'll be back.
Oh.
And to think Arnold wanted to change the line.
I could not pronounce really well this "I'll," so I just kept saying to Jim Cameron, maybe I should just say, "I will be back." I said, it sounds more like a machine. I will be back. And he says, no. He says, look, I don't tell you how to act. Don't tell me how to write. I wrote the line, "I'll be back."
But how did a low-budget movie become a classic?
I remember I was here in New York for the promotion, and I walked down on Park Avenue, and this one fan came up, and he said, say it. And I said, say what? And he says, say the line, "I'll be back." And I said, "I'll be back." He said, no, the way you said it in the movie. And I said, "I'll be back." I said, yeah.
Was it thanks to the phrase that made T1 a success?
I'll be back.
Hey, hold it.
I'll be back, Ben.
And I'll be back.
But how was James Cameron able to surpass the mega success of the first film and create what is the best sequel of all time? Let's go back 2 years before the release of T1, that is, to 1982. James Cameron would start his directorial career on the wrong foot when he was fired from a film I won't name, just as he doesn't either.
I had tried directing a movie I won't mention the name of because everybody else is happy to talk about it all day long. I got fired after 6 days of shooting. I was broke and no prospects. I didn't think I'd ever get hired again. It turned out that actually having even a crappy directing credit did help a little bit.
Even with this bad start, there was no time for regrets.
Nobody was going to offer me anything, so I had to write something. I had to attach myself to it firmly. It had to be good enough to get made, and that seemed the only avenues.
You simply can't fire James Cameron.
You can't do that.
But as he said himself, it had to be something really good to get made. But what idea would be great?
It's a science fiction action thriller set in the present day, but it has a lot of futuristic overtones, and it involves time travel in the sense that the good guy and the bad guy are both trying to change history.
How did this incredible story come about?
Terminator was an idea that I had when I was in Rome. I was just sitting around basically in my hotel room. I was in fact sick at the time. I had real high fever. And I just laying on the bed thinking and came up with all this bizarre imagery.
Although if you think about it, it's strange to think about a robot apocalypse while they're in Rome.
I think also the idea that, you know, because I was in a foreign city by myself and I felt very sort of dissociated from humanity in general.
While for Arnold Schwarzenegger, what was the experience of playing a villain like?
Terminator for me is a very important and a very different role that I've ever played before. First of all, because it is not a barbaric type of a role. It's not with where you show the body or the muscles or so on.
But it was 1984, and the CGI that existed was very limited for what they wanted to achieve. That's why Stan Wilson came into the picture.
Terminator Effects, basically, is the title. My involvement is that I've basically the head of a large and extremely talented crew that have built and sculpted and put together this initial concept of gyms.
For the skinless T-800 scenes, a real robot had to be built with over 1,000 chrome parts, which took almost a year to build.
Okay, we're going to do this live on the set. We're going to do this following frame through stop motion animation, and that's part of the reason why the shots are so seamless regardless of the technique that we use.
All of these elements are undoubtedly a very important key to making the film work. But when you're watching the movie and you see Arnold acting like a robot, you really believe he's a T-800 sent from the future.
They asked me to play that character, and I asked them to send me the script. That I have a slot open for spring, and I want to see the script first. And I read the script, and I immediately could relate much more to the character of Terminator than the heroic character.
Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear.
But the idea when I sent him the script was for him to read it and play the role of Reese, but
Arnold didn't want to play Reese at all. Arnold read the script and said, well, I want to play this Terminator guy. And so Jim went from just about ready to pick a fight with him to, that's a good idea.
I'll be back.
it represents more than just a threat. It turns the character into an icon and a bit of a joke when he keeps his promise to return. T1 was a resounding success, but T2 took 7 years due to copyright issues. But those 7 years were worth it. The film, hailed as the best sequel ever made, pushed the limits of special effects at the time. And it had to be, given that the film had a budget almost 16 times larger than the first.
We knew we were stretching limits because we could feel the tearing sensation that goes with that stretching. I mean, we were really feeling the...
And the truth is that the special effects applied in the sequel were simply perfect. So was the traumatic scene of the nuclear bomb explosion.
When we had to create ashen bodies that were going to be blown away by a nuclear holocaust, it was very unsettling. And it was the one time when it got a little uncomfortable because it wasn't pleasant to look at while you were shooting it.
These incredible special effects required more work than you might think.
We were pushing the limits of everything. The amount of disk space we had, the amount of memory we had in the computers, the amount of CPUs we had. Each shot, even though it only lasted 5 seconds on the screen, typically would take about 8 weeks to complete.
Now, when you watch these scenes, you'll appreciate them more. But what were the requirements for the role of T-1000?
I wanted to find someone who would be a good contrast to Arnold, and I wanted somebody who won through different means, who was extremely fast, agile.
I think I was lucky that Jim, from what I understand, wanted an unknown for it, so that there wasn't any preconceived idea or something that they could recognize me from. And then when I went in there, I was just sort of tipped off that I was supposed to create some sort of an intense presence. And I started playing around with that with Mally, and there was something she saw, and she said, whatever that is, whatever you're doing right now, why don't you keep that going?
No. I wouldn't worry about him. Thanks for your cooperation.
But we're forgetting a very important part of the film. T-800. Who needs your attention because he explains how another legendary phrase was created?
Listen to me very carefully.
Character slowly develops by the very fact of hanging around a human being. And all that registers, and I start dealing with all those kind of emotions.
And thanks to that, another legendary phrase was born.
Hasta la vista, baby.
These films are truly classics and are full of incredible, innovative special effects and action scenes, but they had to be that way because outside of the films, there was another war against Sylvester Stallone.
In the 80s, it was just a rival. It was just competition. It was all about who is making bigger movies, who has more definition in their muscles, who has more box office success, who kills more people, who kills people more creatively, who has bigger knives, who has bigger guns. And I started running around with machine guns that were only used for helicopters, mounting on helicopters or on tanks.
But seriously, the Terminator movies are true masterpieces,
I'll be back.
full of truly endearing moments. And even funny.
I'm right here. I'm fine.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're all right?
What's the dog's name?
Cops are going nuts looking for you.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this, subscribe. And since this is Terminator, let an expert close it out.
Hasta la vista, Stifler.